Hello, people, and something bad has happened. That something bad is that Israel has struck Iran. And not just a little strike, they struck many of their nuclear facilities, which is kind of like a bottom line thing for Iran. And they will actually retaliate. And the Israeli government have told their citizens that to prepare for an Iranian retaliation. Iran has launched several hundred drones towards Israel, and even more than that, they're going to do more retaliation. These strikes have not only destroyed a bunch of nuclear facilities and other stuff, they've also killed several Iranian leaders, including many of their top military brass. Now, that might actually delay retaliation, of course, because that's going to make it harder for them to organize their military over the loss of so many of their senior leaders. The head of the Revolutionary Guard was killed, as well as their most senior military official. Supreme Leader has vowed retaliation, so make sure they are going to actually retaliate. And it's going to have a pretty big effect on the markets. It already has. If you look on CNBC, the stocks have already dropped 600 points on the futures. And of course, crypto has dropped, but that's not the most important thing. That could just be a one-time thing. The most important thing is this oil thing right here. Oil has risen substantially, past $70. And even though it's going back down a little bit right now, we'll have to see what happens after the market actually opens. Remember, a large part, actually not just a large part, the entire reason that inflation has basically gone down recently is actually because oil has actually been really low in price. It's been at like $55, $56 ever since Trump got into office because OPEC has decided to go up their production. And of course, since the world expected a recession, demand was actually going down. That's been changed recently as the world no longer expects a big recession. So oil prices were already back in the upper 60s, and this is just going to jolt it up even more. Like lower 70s is what the oil price was worldwide when Trump assumed office. So I'm going to think that my gas prices are going to rise by about 20 to 40 cents a gallon very, very quickly here in Wisconsin. And in California, it'll probably be more. But the problem is that oil stuff is going to trickle down into the rest of the economy, obviously, and it's going to make groceries and everything else cost more. That added to the fact that the inflationary factors from the tariffs are going to start working themselves in the next 6 months will actually cause inflation to probably go up even more. I think inflation is probably headed up to 3.0, if not more, in the next couple of months, if this conflict doesn't de-escalate very, very quickly. So definitely not good news for the markets. I think at the best, it delays our bull run for another couple of weeks. And we've had many, many delays already. If we get enough delays, it's probably just not going to happen. At the worst, it delays for several months. And it's going to be very, very hard for this conflict to get resolved in the worst. Now, do I think it's going to turn into a land war? No, I do not actually believe it's going to turn into a land war. And the main reason is because Iran and Israel don't really border each other. There's a big country in the middle. And they're probably not going to want big tanks rolling across their country. It's going to be a trade like an aerial war. And the U.S. did know about this because they did actually withdraw their both their troops and like personnel a while ago before this actually started. So we knew that this was going to happen because Israel actually told us. We were not a part of this strike, but the administration did actually know about it. Obviously, I don't think the administration wanted Israel to strike because this would not go well with their economic policy that they're trying to enforce. And inflation goes up, there's going to be a lot more discontent back in the United States. But I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu really cares about what Trump or anyone else thinks. And he decided to strike anyways because he wanted to take out Iran's nuclear capability. Because he definitely does not want Iran to have a nuke because that would actually get Iran to have a lot more bargaining power with Israel. So instead of just striking Hezbollah and their proxies and wiping them out, they decided to strike directly at Iran. I was kind of surprised at this, but not really because it's been building up for a while. I just hope this does not last for a hugely long time. And if I wake up tomorrow and I see that Iran has successfully counter-retaliated against a lot of Israeli cities and bases and stuff, I know this is going to hell in a handbasket very fast, and I don't think the U.S. is going to be able to resolve this because even though we support Israel, we don't carry a lot of clout now in the Middle East anymore. Like, Iran is probably not really going to listen to us because they suffered a huge, huge loss on their own soil, and there's probably going to be an extended exchange over a long period of time. Now, Israel's military highly outclasses Iran's. There's no question about that. There's nothing in Iran's arsenal that can match up to F-35s. And obviously their aerial defense can't compare with the Iron Dome that Israel has. But military aside, this is definitely going to affect the overall economy. If Jerome Powell wasn't going to cut rates before, he is definitely not cutting rates now. I think you're going to see on the betting markets very, very fast that the chance of a cut by September is going to basically go down the drain very, very soon. And that's definitely not good news. No bueno for people like us, because we definitely need a cut by September. Now, September is kind of a make or break month. I think if Powell doesn't cut by September, Powell is just simply not going to cut this year. And with this conflict that could actually affect oil prices, which affects inflation overall, Powell may not cut until deep into next year. In fact, he may not cut until he actually leaves the position, which would definitely delay the bull run for a very, very long time. I do think we need a couple of cuts to actually trigger. Even if we get the ETFs, that might boost us up a bit. But with these high bond rates and people becoming even more unsure of the economy, if there's an oil squeeze, it's going to be very, very hard to pump anything up. And the already pathetic bull run that we're having could become just even more pathetic. And some people have already moved their timeline from late 2025 into 2026. I think some of those people might actually have to move their timeline back from 2026 into 2027. And the thing is, there's not that much that the US can actually do about this, because Israel's obviously not listening to us. Iran is probably not going to listen to us. And even if they sign a temporary ceasefire, there's going to be heightened tensions around the area. This is the one thing that we really didn't want to happen. India and Pakistan, sure, but they kind of calm down. Both sides are nuclear powers, so they're not going to touch that. And plus, neither India or Pakistan really affects the oil price, whereas Iran is, I think, the third or fourth biggest producer in OPEC. And just as important, they do control the Straits of Hormuz. And if they close that strait, that would really screw with oil shipping lines, and that could wreak havoc on the price of oil. So the price of plus 5% in oil rise could just be the beginning of all of this. It could rise by a lot more than 5%. And if it goes into the mid 70s, upper 70s, I think Wisconsin at least can see oil prices of close to $3.50, even $3.75 again, which sucks for me because I drive a lot. But other places like California can see much higher rises to $6 or $7 or more on the gas. Yes, Cali gas in times when it rises can get as much as twice as much as Wisconsin gas, especially in places like Beverly Hills if you're stuck in the rich parts of the city. Fun fact, the most expensive gas I've seen was actually in Florida at Flamingo, deep in the Everglades, because they have to pull it. They basically have to transport all the oil there. It wasn't actually in California, because even at that time, oil wasn't that expensive. It was $6 in Flamingo. They just rip you off there because that's the only gas station in 40 miles. If you want gas, while you're in the Everglades, you have to get it there. But either way, this does actually have a lot of ripple effects in the economy, way more than a Russia-Ukraine war will. The Russia-Ukraine war was the initial shock, but then again, that wouldn't really affect global oil price in the long run all that much. Whereas as long as this conflict exists, it will actually affect global oil price, which will affect the rest of the economy. So that's why I say I can see inflation going up to 3%, possibly even more, because of this conflict. Now, I think the best case scenario is they sign a ceasefire, although a very tense one, in about 2 to 3 weeks. The worst case scenario, this could drag to 5 or 6 months or more, because these countries are not going to conquer each other. They're not bored at each other. They're not going to roll tanks into each other. But there's going to be repeated aerial strikes, and there is a very good chance in that scenario where Iran's oil producing facilities are struck, and that would obviously hinder Iran's oil production, which the other OPEC countries may not mind, because if Iran can't actually produce as much, they get to sell more and the price gets to be higher for them. So they're not really crying a tear or anything. But this is very, very bad for our markets, and I hope it resolves in the next couple of weeks. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.